Bonjour, peeps. Hi, this is Neshi Wilcox. Excuse me. Welcome to Star Nations Radio Network's main fan page, where we do the live stream every day, practically, for the card draw energy of the day. And today is Saturday, September 8th. Can you believe it? 8 days already into September. And we're inching closer and closer to publication day. Publishing day, which is September 10th for Star Nations magazine. It's a spiritually based magazine, and I say that every issue is gorgeous, and you guys are going to love it. And I realize that I'm partial, but I really think you guys are going to like this one. I love the cover of this magazine. It's a picture of a hummingbird taken by. I'm going to call her a freelance photographer, because basically that's what she's doing. That's not what she's really known for, but that's what she's doing. Marjorie Morrison out of Michigan, Lowell, Michigan. And yeah, it's a good one. Can't wait for you guys to see it. Hey, good morning, Elise Miller and Mary Ann, if you're watching. Good morning, ladies. So glad you could be with me this morning on this beautiful Saturday morning. It was 47 degrees again at 6 o'clock. This morning when I got up. And our high today here in Tomah, Wisconsin is 69 degrees. Can somebody say fall? God, it's got to be autumn weather. And it's you can feel it in the air. It's cool enough to be wearing a sweatshirt. And yeah, it's cool weather. Today, I was going to share something with you guys yesterday, and I thought, no, maybe we'll wait. Have you ever had a feeling of being drawn to something, right? That it doesn't even leave your mind. And you try to push it away, mentally, and say, oh, can't do that now. It's hard enough to get away just even for a day. For a weekend. But to actually get away for like more than a week is just like unbelievably difficult, right? Challenging is a good word. But yesterday morning, I woke up with this feeling, and I've had it before, with Ireland on my heart, in my heart, and I could feel the Great Mother reaching out and saying, come home to Ireland, to land of air, to Anu. Yeah. And if I could, I would pack my bags and I would have been there yesterday. But, it's hard to do those road trips. And so I'm not sure how this is going to happen, if it's going to happen, but honoring by actually saying it out loud, feeling that magnetic pull. Yeah. And I know that it's, I've had it before. That's why I've been there 5 times. And when you're doing the, other things that really is taking up the mind space. I was working on a magazine yesterday afternoon, actually evening. George took up most of my afternoon. And I could still feel it. And I was still thinking about Ireland and images, memories passing through my mind. And I wasn't concentrating on them at all. They would just pop up. And, yeah. So that's an intuitive hit, they would say. Intuitive hit. Hey, Mary Anderson Fry, good morning. Good morning. Mado's back. Good morning. And I'm so glad you ladies are with me this morning. I have my coffee. How about you? I know yesterday I had tea. Yesterday afternoon. George had his first veterinary visit, his puppy health check yesterday morning. So we did an afternoon live stream because I was busy in the morning. It's good stuff. Don't you just love that first cup of coffee, that first sip of that first cup? Yum. So today's cards, I should probably explain, because there's some people who might be watching the recorded video that say, what is this video all about, this live stream? Is that I draw a card just about every morning. Been doing it for years and years and years. And my question is always what energy is important for us to know about today for the highest good? And I'm working with my spiritual team, right? So I started sharing that information, like a quote on the Star Nations organization's Instagram account. And that was last fall. So it's almost been a year. And then in May, I had this bright idea to do a live stream and to share about the card that was drawn that morning. And so we started that in May. And so we've been doing this almost every morning. I've missed a few mornings because, taking just a little break or having to move from a morning live stream to an afternoon live stream because of my schedule. But we are currently working with this deck, which is Pathway to Healing Cards by Brian L. Weiss, MD. Yes, medical doctor. Okay. And how those came about was from his book, Same Soul, Many Bodies, Discover the Healing Power of Future Lives Through Progression Therapy. I read, this is a copyrighted book, I think 2004. I might have gotten it and read it in 2005. I think I saw him on Oprah. That's how I kind of made the connection there. I think it was Oprah. So long ago, I don't really remember accurately. Yeah, Motto is saying, I have missed you all. Well, we missed you too, Motto. I'm glad you're back. And Mary's here too. Good morning. All right, so here's the card that came today. It says, I honor my relationships with loving care and attention. I honor my relationships with loving care and attention. And the back side of the card says, renew your relationships through loving action. The relationship is loving, alive in the present. It's not a thing of the past. It's not a thing of the past. It's in the present moment. Oh my, this is a card with information that I had to sit here and think, oh my gosh, I have to return telephone calls, text messages from friends who have reached out to contact me for one thing or another. And I've been so busy, I haven't returned those calls or those messages. And I need to do that. Why? Because it's nurturing a relationship. And a relationship, in my 2 cents, okay, is a living being between two people or more. It could be like a community too. And it needs to be nurtured to grow. It needs our attention, our focus every so often to keep the connection vital and thriving, right? Nurturing that relationship. And so I owe 3 people a return telephone call. Y'all know who you are. And I need to return a couple people with their text messages and email. And I will get that. I'm going to get to that today and tomorrow. Yep. I'm going to make those telephone calls and return those messages. That was the first thing that went through my mind when I read the card. Is that if we want to be nurtured and loved, we want that in our lives, we have to act on that. In other words, we have to give what we want to receive, right? And so, all these people that I owe a return call or message to are all people who I respect and I love having in my life. Yeah. And so in order to keep that going, you have to kindle the fire. You have to keep it going, right? Yeah. And so that's one of the things that went through my mind. Mado is saying, love Brian Weiss. He is such a gentle and loving soul. Isn't he, though? I was going to actually go and do a weekend class with him. This was years ago. Because he's part of Hay House, or at least he was. I think he still is. And every once in a while, they do those kind of Hay House pack weekend classes, right, with their authors. And I was going to do that once. I never got that far, but I've read, his book, and I keep up with him a little bit. Not as much lately since we moved up here. So it's been a good 10 years since I really tracked him. But I really do like his book, and I like these cards. And yes, he is. You can't. In order to be of service to someone else, and to have that big of an impact in the way that he has to so many people, you really do have to have a loving heart, because otherwise it just drains you. I don't think so. Mary Anderson Fry said, didn't he pass away last year? Don't think so. I thought I saw a post recently. Could somebody Google that? Because that would be good to know. I'd appreciate that if you can. If you're at your laptop, right? If you're at your laptop and you can open another tab, if you could check on that. But if you're on your phone, you won't be that person doing that. Otherwise, you're going to lose our connection. All right. So this message that he has is to renew your relationships. In other words, I took that as pay attention to them. To those people that you really enjoy having in your life is to pay attention to them. Even if it's just an email saying, hey, I was thinking about you, emoticon, or send them a YouTube video and say, this reminds me of us. Just to reach out, and because it comes back to us tenfold, right? Yeah. Mado is saying she doesn't think so, but Michael Newton crossed over last year. Yeah, now I knew that he did. I hadn't heard about anything about Brian Weiss, though. Hi, Mary Summers just joined us. Good morning, Mary. And so for those people, and I'm not saying we should do it for everybody. It would be nice if we could, but those people who are the closest to you, your inner circle, is to make time for them, is to turn your attention to them and love them, really. Once a month, I do a Skype call with a group of women who we've been now doing this, I think 8 years, maybe 9. When did we start that? I moved here in 2006. It's got to be 10 years, at least 10. Yeah. We've been doing a monthly call. Sometimes, depending on what's going on, we would do bi-monthly calls. Every other week, we would do a Skype call. It started out as a teleconference call, and then we moved to Google Hangout, I think it was, and then from Google Hangout to Skype. No, it was Skype, Google Hangout, and then back to Skype. And yeah, it started out over a book, actually, Serpent of the Light by Drenville Melchizedek. And he's one of my teachers. And so a couple of my friends had contacted me to find out, what I thought about the book or if I'd read the book. And I had. And my suggestion was that we get together on a teleconference because Otherwise, I'd have two conversations about the same thing with two different people. And to maximize time, right, is to get together and the three of us and just talk about it. Answer questions, that kind of thing. Well, it turned out to be actually a total of 5 people. Counting me, there's 6. And we have been doing these Skype calls now every month, 10 years. And it's a group of women who I call my sisters. Yes, soul sisters. And we do nurture that relationship. And we call individually, we might call one of the other sisters in between time. And do a Skype call or a regular, an old-fashioned cell phone call, because maybe something's going on with them and we just want to check in with them, or we know that something is coming up pretty exciting for them and we just want to spend a couple minutes with them on the phone. And so, yeah, it's nurturing. It does take some of your time and energy to do that. But it's worth the investment. It's worth the nurturing that you give and receive. I think so. Okay, so Model looked it up. Thank you. She says Wikipedia has no death date for Dr. Brian Weiss. Thank you, Model. Yeah, he still must be alive. In some dimension, we all are, right? Even if we walked on from this one. Mary says, looks like he's on Wikipedia 75 years. He could be 75. He could be. I thought he was in his mid 60s, but late 60s, but he could be 75. His book doesn't tell his age, doesn't say what age he was when he wrote the book. So, you know, it came to me also about relationships. Every deck we've used so far, the Sacred Path, the geometry cards, the oracle cards, and now this one. Each one of those decks have something about love, nurturing, and relationships. And chances are almost all the decks do. Any deck that you'd pick up, right? And why is that if it's not important? I have to say that it feels good when you reach out to somebody that you really care about and that you're able to assist them in some way. But it is immensely, what's the feeling? Gratitude. When you're receiving the nurturing from these people in your life. Yeah, it's a relationship that really does make your life so much better. It really does. You know, and then there's those relationships that are more like acquaintances, right? And we all have those. And so we want to be kind to those people, but we don't necessarily spend a lot of time with those people. Yeah. I have one friend. You heard me talk about her, Marley. We've been friends since the 3rd grade. And we might not talk every month. It might be months before we actually sit down and have a good chat. But it has always felt, in fact, the longest time we went without any contact was right after graduation, high school graduation, and she moved to California. And we spent 20 years apart. 20 years. And we went to our class reunion, our 20-year class reunion. And another friend of ours, Deb Wynn, that's her maiden name, she contacted me and said, why don't you come? Because I hadn't been back and to any reunions for high school. And so I said, okay, all right, I'll come. I'll be there. Do you promise? And she knew that if she got a promise from me that I would be there come hell or high water, right? So I promised. Well, the word got out that in our little circle in high school, that I was coming, and Marley showed up because she wasn't going to go. And she showed up because she heard I was going to be there. And I have to say, it was like the 20 years that we were apart never happened. That we picked up exactly from where we left off, and to have that kind of relationship in your life is precious. Precious is a good word. And so to nurture those relationships in the way that is comfortable and good for you, right? Yeah. This is the card that was drawn. I honor my relationships with loving care and attention. And that's all relationships. On the back side, it says, renew your relationships through loving action. The relationship is living alive in the present. It's not a thing of the past. It's not a thing of the past. Yeah. Do you have those friends that when you get together, which is maybe not too all that often, but when you get together, the one thing that you have in common, the one thing, sometimes is a situation that you went through together. I have a group of friends who we studied together for feng shui and space clearing. Got our certifications, got the teacher certification. We went through many classes together. And then when the organization started to break apart, going through its own shifting of the energies and that sort of thing, we shared that experience. And so whenever we would get together or have a telephone call, that was the one thing we talked about. And it was good at the beginning because it was good. Because we were in grief, right? And so it was very good if it was to have that support group. But there was a tipping point that when you're feeling, your feelings aren't as much about grief or anger anymore, or hurt or pain, and when you still keep talking about the same thing, then it turns into something completely different and not healthy. And I think that most of us recognize that, and we just started talking about other things, asking each other about, well, so what's going on with you outside of this situation? Yeah. And so there's a few of us that still talk every once in a while. In fact, one of the ladies, she's a professional photographer. I used one of her pictures on a past issue a few years ago. And so, we shifted it, right? And those that didn't want to go in onto something different fell away. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't like them or anything like that. They're, more power to them. Wishing them all the best. And when we see each other in a chat room or making comments on a post of some sort, we'll say, "Hey, how you doing?" And but it's not a relationship that we spend a lot of time with, right? Yeah, I'm sure you guys know. We all experience this at some point. Hello, Rochelle. Good to have you with us. And Stephanie's here. Yay, Stephanie. Cece, Cecilia Valentine. What a sweetheart. Thank you for being here, Cece. I appreciate it. It's good to see you in the chat. All kinds of memories about that girl, too. Yeah. So for those who just joined here, I'll show you the card that was drawn this morning. It's from the Pathway to Healing cards by Dr. Brian Weiss. And the card is, I honor my relationships with loving care and attention. Okay. Now we're just talking about the friendships, the soul sister kind of relationships or soul brothers kind of relationships. Renew your relationship through loving action. The relationship is living alive in the present. It's not a thing of the past. Not a thing of the past. Yep. So it's all relationships, actually, don't you think? I think it's a relationship to our community, and we have many communities, right? We have the community in which we live in regionally, locally, and then we have the communities that we belong to on social media, or maybe you're a member of Rotary or a member of a healing group, Reiki share, that kind of thing, and so we have membership in many different circles, many different communities. And when we are a member of one community, like Star Nation's community, and we're a member of another community, let's say it's a Reiki share or a book club or something like that, we're the person in common between these two groups, right? And so we can be the bridge or the link between the two, and making a connection between those two groups. And sometimes what happens is that we'll invite one friend from one group and another friend from the other group to join the opposite group, right? To say, hey, there's some good stuff going on over here. I think that is really a service coming from you to your friends when you share like that. Why? Because it's the weaving of things together, and so that strand in the weave, as Amantha Murphy, a friend of mine from Ireland, and some of you know her, she talks about that quite often, the weave. Yeah. And so, as light workers, as energy workers, healers, it's almost like a service that we're doing, connecting these groups, part of the weave. Yeah. Another relationship is to your significant other, whoever that is, whether you're married and you have a spouse, or if you have a significant other. You might not be married by signing a piece of paper. You might be married because you made a heart commitment to each other, and you've been together for a long time, right? You know who that reminds me of? Goldie Hawn, and what's her guy's name? I can see him. Close my eyes and I can see his face. Somebody help me! I'm having a menopausal moment. Goldie Hawn's man. Oh, shoot. I was going to say his name and it was gone. But their relationship is much like that. They were never legally married. They might be now, but they were never legally married. But their relationship endured Hollywood, endured filmmaking. They didn't live in Hollywood, but they were a part of that career, right? That thing. And who, if you can survive that, wow. Your relationship can survive just about anything. And so when we have those kind of relationships, those love kind of relationships, with a significant other, with a beloved, we'll put it that way, with a beloved, it does take time. It does take energy to nurture that, to commit space and time to be together, right? Some of us call it date night. Some of us call it just grocery shopping because that's all you can fit in. Oh, Paul and I had one of those not too long ago. I think it was in the fall, last fall, so it's been almost a year. We had a new grocery store open up here, and it was like, oh my God, a real grocery store other than Walmart. We also have Aldi's too, but a big grocery store. And so we went, and we must have spent an hour and a half in the grocery store. It looked like we'd never ever been in a big grocery store before. But it was fun. It was fun. And it's those little things, Yeah. Thank you, Mary. Kurt Russell. Love it. Yes. Thank you so much. Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. They've been together for years without a legal marriage between them. And they outlasted so many of their contemporaries. And some of their contemporaries were legally married multiple times in the time frame, that they've been together. And yeah. So to me, there's two different kind of marriages. There's the legal marriage where you sign on the dotted line, right? And then there's the marriage of the heart. And I think it's the marriage of the heart is long lasting. Yeah. You have a deeper commitment to each other, and one that has been nurtured. Yeah. Yep. I think if you've ever experienced one of those, yeah, they don't, there's this line from movies, he completes me. It's not quite like that. But having them in your life, it adds such a quality to it, right? All I can say is what's in my head right now is, my relationship to Paul. He makes me laugh. He's smart. He's very intelligent, and yet he says things to me like on the weekends or when he's not at work that his inner child runs the joint, and it's true. He makes things fun. Going to the grocery store, he makes it fun, and so it's those kinds of things, right? That kind of nurturing. There's another kind of relationship I want to touch on that is also needs nurturing and attention paid to it, I think. And that's our relationship to Grandmother Earth and to Grandfather Sky. Yeah. For those who have studied with me, you know that the connection between Grandmother Earth and Grandfather Sky is a loving one. And it's a energy field, a frequency that is very unique, and that we all know what it is, what it feels like. We might not consciously know, but our soul recognizes it. Our body recognizes it. It's the mental mind that sometimes is the stickler, is the fly in the ointment. But our relationship to Grandfather Sky and Grandmother Earth is an important one, because we're their divine child, and feeling the love that they have for us and all the things that they do for us, that we take for granted many times, right? Yeah. And so making the time to spend with both of them, whether it is, as Minnie Kansman does, doing a sit spot and connecting to Grandmother Earth in the morning time before she starts her day. Whether it's taking George for a walk now, being outside with him, connecting to Grandmother in that way. Connecting to Grandfather Sky. How many of us just love going outside at night to look up at the stars. Yeah. It is so much fun to have this image that I always remember. A good friend of mine, Tammy Gullen, when she lived in Wisconsin, she and her husband had a vacation house, and it was on a lake. I think it was on a flowage, not on a lake. It was on a flowage, and we went up and spent a retreat kind of weekend up there with her. It's up north, and it's, internet, cell phone connection pretty spotty up there. Not very reliable Wi-Fi. And so the one image that I have is of us out on the beach in lawn chairs, right? And a small, did we even have a fire? I don't think we even had a fire because we didn't want any of the ambient light. And we sat out there and watched the night sky and the meteor showers. So much, it was gorgeous. I'll never forget it. It was one of those moments where you felt like you could reach out and touch the sky, right? Aw. That's one of my brother's Indian name, spirit name, when he was living. Shadant Kot. It meant Potawatomi for touch the sky. I just had a really nice moment there, you guys. Touch the sky. Or those people who just love the sun, to stand in the sun, especially in the early morning, when the sun is just starting to warm things up. I love that. I do. So do you see the meaning that I have, that I'm trying to get across about the relationship building and the nurturing of it? And whether you're a woman or a man, doesn't matter. We all carry the male and female energies right within us. And so to be nurturing is a female energy. And so when we turn our attention to whatever it is that we're using nurturing, and we're standing right in the center of the female energy. Action is male energy when you take action. And so when you combine the two, the nurturing and the action, we'll call it divine action. How's that? And you put action behind your thoughts and your words, your feelings, and you do something for a relationship that you're nurturing, that you want to build. You want to keep the fire under, the energy to it under. That's when we actually snail mail a card. We take the time to write a short message, and we send the card. We send a gift. If you're into texting a lot, is maybe sending them a little something to let them know that you're thinking about them. Those kinds of things. The action is what grounds it to the earth plane. And so I know it's kind of like how I'm kind of talking about this is like a, step by step, almost methodical, mental kind of way of describing it. But it really, for me, it really boils down to the feeling. Yeah. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Do you have someone or some bodies, plural, in your life that you're nurturing a relationship? Paying attention to them. Giving of your time and your energy for them. Yeah. Something just went through my mind. I was just thinking about children. That when my nieces and nephews were young, when they were children. We spent time with them. We spent money on them. We spoiled them rotten. We did that. And as they're adults, we might not always hear from them. Rarely get a telephone call. Never get anything in the mail. On a rare occasion, one of them will drop in just to say hi. And I have to admit that there came a time when we're all adults, right? All adults, that we didn't keep the fire going underneath that relationship. And in some ways, I can understand having to kind of step away, because as young adults, they needed to test their wings. They needed to follow the path that they chose, right? And whether we're physically in their life or not, is a decision, a conscious decision on both our parts. Yeah. And it's not like I've forgotten about them. I haven't. When I hear about good things that's happening in their life, I just say, good for them. That's really good news. And when I hear about things that might not always be all that great, it's like, you know what? They're learning. And hopefully they learned the lesson that they needed to get out of that one. And try very consciously to step away from any kind of judgment. Because I was young once too. I remember my 20s and my 30s. And some of those decisions, looking back at them, were not always that positive. Yeah. Yep. And and we all survived it, right? We all survived our 20s and our 30s. Yep. So our relationships. As Brian Weiss in his card, he says, I'm going to turn it over. I honor my relationships with loving care and attention. So it's those relationships that you choose to have active in your life and to nurture them, feed them. Yeah. Yeah. Yay. It's a good one. A contemplation on that. And the thing is that, I'm going to say it again because I said it yesterday, is that when we're talking about love and we're talking about being of service to someone else, to nurture a relationship, it becomes, I don't want to say easier, maybe effortless is a good word. When we're doing our own healing, our own emotional and mental trauma healing, when we do the healing and we work through it onto the other side of it, we are removing the interference and the blockages from our heart chakra. And so loving someone else becomes effortless. And yesterday's card, it was being filled with love. And I made this kind of an epiphany for me, is that that we're already filled with love. It's already there. It's when we do our own healing work that we start to recognize that the love was always inside us, and that all we need to do is turn our attention to it and heal enough of ourselves so that we can remember that, know that it's always there, Yeah. So coming up this week at Star Nations for live stream shows, we have Mervyn Kelly on Tuesday morning from Star to Stone. And I believe he is going to be using the topic that we missed his show last month. I think it was. It was about the Merlin energy, Merlin stories, and he's going to tell us about individuals, people who we may not have heard about, but were Merlin-like. And so it's going to be fascinating. And that's at 9 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesday morning. And then following that is this live stream for the card draw. And then at noon Eastern time is chakra sessions with Polly Joel LeBay. And then the evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, as I'm back, and that's with my weekly show, Communications from Home. And my guest this week is Julie Hedges. And she's one of our live stream show hosts, and she's a contributing writer for Star Nations magazine, and she is also one of our authors of a book that we published for her 2 years ago, almost going on 2 years. And Julie and I are going to be talking about truth. Yeah. You know, when we say to stand in your truth, what does that mean? And all other things about truth. And so if you can join us, that'll be a good show too. Wednesday, Polly Joe is back with Soul Connections. Yeah. So I hope you can join us for those live stream shows. That'd be great. And Monday, I almost forgot. Monday is publishing day. Star Nations Magazine September issue, number 64. 64. It's a lot of magazines. Is coming up, and I think you guys are going to like this one too. All right. So with that, oops, I missed some here. Motto is saying, I have a job that requires me to travel all over the U.S., so intentionally keeping in contact with those in my life is very important to me. It is not a given that these people and myself are in the same location very often, so keeping in contact is paramount. Love my cell phone and email. Good for you, Motto. Really good for you. When we're on the road like that, it can be a challenge. It can be a challenge to be involved as much as we'd like to be involved. And so sometimes we have to find creative ways, right? Creative ways to do that. One time we did a birthday party via Skype because the sisters and I, we were in like all over the United States. I was, I think, in California at the time teaching. Sharon was in Hawaii at the time, and she was in Colorado maybe. Donna was in New York, and Teresa was here in Wisconsin, and we were just all over the map, literally. And we did a birthday, I think it was a birthday party via Skype. Recently, in this past October, we had a sisters gathering here. 3 of us could make it to this one because it was at my house. I could make it. And we were doing something special for Teresa. And so later we Skyped about it. Yeah, so that we could involve everybody. So sometimes we have to be creative. We have to be creative to nurture those relationships. Thank you for sharing that, Motto. I think you might have given some people some ideas, on how to do their relationship building. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and please remember, if it resonated with you, anything that we talked about here today, if it resonates with you, pick it up, grab it, nurture it. Yeah. And watch how the energy unfolds for you today, and how this information, this energy that Spirit showed us today, how does it flow to you? If you're a direct participant in it, or if you are bearing witness to it, Just pay attention to it, because we always learn something no matter which we are part of, the direct participation or witnessing. If it didn't resonate with you, that's okay. No worries. You can just leave it alone, let it lay. But maybe you're the messenger, and you may know somebody who would enjoy or has been have been looking for information like this. Share the link with them to the recorded show. Yeah, recorded video. Yeah. And I forgot to ask everybody to share it, like it, and share the video. Let's do this. Let's just at least like the broadcast. If you feel moved to share it, that's great. But let's all like it. I completely forgot to do that in the beginning. I was talking about Ireland. I was over in Ireland at the beginning of the live stream. I can feel the pull of Ireland, Anu, to visit my second home over there. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for the card draw. Okay, Ba Mamina, that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. Love you guys.